Hello, today you will learn about
Bonjour. Today let's compare two tenses in French, the imparfait versus the conditional. This lesson has four objectives: to understand the difference between the imparfait and conditional and when to use them. This lesson has objective to show you the difference between the two tenses and not how to conjugate them. I will however give you some examples to give you an idea to put them together and show you the difference. What I am going to do is explain you when we use imperfect and when to use conditional. First, let's have a look at imperfect tense. The imperfect tense, also called as imparfait in French, and in English it is called as past progressive or continuous tense. It is the tense which is used to describe an action, which used to happen or was happening. It is used to refer to an action which started in the past and carried on over a period of time. It can be used to describe a habit, for example. When I was a child, I used to play in the park every day.
Quand j'étais enfant, je jouais au parc tous les jours.
See the habit every day in the past, to play in park. Or it can be used to present an action that was going on and an event suddenly happened. For example, yesterday, while I was reading a book, my friend called me.
Hier, pendant que je lisais un livre, mon ami m'a appelé.
Also note that the imperfect tense is used in the description of landscape, weather, etc. For example, it was sunny, we went to the beach.
Il faisait beau, nous allions à la plage.
And it can be used to describe memories and feelings, for example, when I was a child, I used to dream of becoming a dancer.
Quand j'étais enfant, je rêvais de devenir danseur.
We got an idea of when to use imperfect tense. What about the conditional? And why am I comparing the two? The conditional is the tense to describe an action that may happen if another action takes place. In English we use would in front of a verb. So, it is used as a way to form a condition, the conditional. For example, if I had money, I would buy a new car.
Si j'avais de l'argent, j'achèterais une nouvelle voiture.
The condition is that if I have money then I can buy a new car. It is necessary to use the correct endings for the conditional. So that is the objective of this lesson. Why I have chosen these two tenses for comparison, well, it is because the endings of the imperfect and conditional are exactly the same. Have a look at them.
Je hais. Tu hais. Il, elle, on est. Nous y. Vous y. Il, elles est.
So, when do you know, when we are talking imperfect or conditional? If the endings are exactly the same, how would you do it? How would you make the difference between a used to be action and a would to do action? The spelling of them is different. I will give you some examples. Have a look at them very closely. In the conditional we hear the
RR
sound which you will not hear in the imperfect. And that's pretty much the difference. Because the stem in the conditional is the same as we use in the future tense. Let me show you the example, then you can compare the imperfect next to conditionnel. And you will understand that the endings are the same but the stem is different. Have a look at the verb such as parler, which means to talk. In the imperfect tense,
Je parlais.
I used to speak or I was speaking. That is imperfect tense. What I said to you is that for the conditional we use the stem of the future tense. In order to be able to do that for parler, have a look at the future tense first.
Je parlerai.
I will talk. That's a future tense. Yet it is not the conditional tense. In order to do that, you take the stem of the future tense parler and add endings of imperfect tense ais. Have a look at that.
Je parlerai.
Which means I would talk. So, this is where you have to be careful. The stem in the beginning of that verb has changed, and how did we do that? We used the future tense of that same verb, so
Je parlais.
I used to talk. And
Je parlerai.
I would talk. Now let's look at the third group verb. I am trying to give you different verbs to get an idea. Prendre, which means to take. Prendre is an irregular verb. Have a look. If we want to use the imperfect tense of prendre. Imparfait.
Nous prenions.
We used to take. We were taking. If you want to say we would take knowing that the endings IONS is the same. Like I said, the endings of imperfect and conditional are the same. What changes is the stem. You need to know the future stem of prendre in order to conjugate it in the conditional. So the future of prendre is
Nous prendrons.
we will take. Have a look at the stem prendre. We're going to use this stem in the conditional.
Nous prendrions.
We would take. What we have done, we have added the IONS, which is the endings of imperfect tense, which we want for conditional, and we have attached it to the stem of future. Now let's look at the second group verb,
Choisir.
which means to choose.
Elle choisissait.
They used to choose. They were choosing. How would you say, they would choose? First look at the future tense of verb.
Choisir. Elles choisiront.
They will choose. We are going to use that stem and attach it to the conditionnel.
Elles choisiraient.
They would choose. Now let's look at the verb,
Être.
which means to be, which is a regular verb and hard to conjugate.
Il était.
He was. He used to be. But how do we do that in conditionnel? For that you should know the stem in future tense.
Il sera.
He will be. Completely different from imperfect.
Il serait.
He would be. Now let's look at the other verb, avoir, which means to have.
J'avais.
I had. I used to have. The stem for the future is
J'aurai.
I will have. For the conditionnel it will be
J'aurais.
I would have. Next example,
Payer.
which means to pay. This is a hard one.
Tu payais.
You used to pay. You were paying. Now, you will pay will be.
Tu paieras.
For the conditionnel it will be
Tu paierais.
you would pay. A quick recap. How do you find the stem of imparfait? You will have to take the nous form of the present tense and use the stem for the imperfect tense. And add those endings that I have shown you. Example.
Nous vendons.
We sell. We are selling. You take the stem vend and add the endings of imparfait.
Nous vendions.
We used to sell. We were selling. Try to take out as many words as possible and try to conjugate them, know their stem for imperfect and know the stem for future and for the conditional. That's it for today's lesson. Hope this video was helpful.
Au revoir et à bientôt.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for next video.